What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here on Peg City Hockey, and today we're going to be talking about some trade rumors going into the NHL Four Nations face-off break. The Jets' last game before the break is on Friday, and there honestly is a lot to talk about. You know, the trade deadline is not that far away, and with the Jets being on top of the NHL standings, you know, there's a lot to talk about. Recently, Pierre LeBrun had a sit-down with Kevin Cheveldayoff. I was reading about it today on TSN, and they pretty much went into how the Jets are not going to be looking to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. You can pause the video if you want to take a look and read it yourself, but to summarize it pretty much, in years past, the Jets have went out there and traded away a first-round pick and made multiple trades to bring in real talent, and it hasn't paid off. So don't just expect the Jets to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. The Jets are looking to, you know, bring in the right player that's a good fit on the ice and in the locker room. They don't want to disrupt the chemistry, and they don't want to take away from the accomplishment that this team has, you know, everything that they've accomplished this year, you know, what this team has done, the players that have stepped up. They don't want to diminish that, and they don't really want to just bring in anybody else to kind of just, you know, join in on the success. They want to really reward this room. And, you know, there's on the other side of that coin, though, with Chevy saying all of this stuff, the Jets are still obviously having a lot of things going on and a lot of calls being made, because the Jets have just recently been tied to Brock Besser yet again, and as well as officially now, not just in speculation, to Brock Nelson. Two guys that we have both talked about on the channel within the last couple of weeks. I made a video like 2 weeks ago talking about why I thought, again, a trade for Brock Besser made a ton of sense, and this was before anything officially had come out, and now it's starting to look like, you know, the Canuck forward might really be on his way out, especially after that JT Miller trade. This is a really skilled, goal-scoring, good two-way player with a lot of offensive upside who's been very solid his entire career and has kind of been outshined at times by JT Miller, by Pettersson, but has always really been up there and been that, you know, third real big threat for the Canucks offense. You know, going into a final year of his contract at $6.650 million, the Jets would have to re-sign him, so he would be more of a rental player. But Brock Besser offers a lot of skill, you know, and imagine a line with Brock Besser, Adam Lowry, and Nikolai Ehlers on it. Like, that just screams chemistry to me. I just can see that line playing extremely well. So adding Brock Besser, I've always been a fan of that. Hell, I like the Canucks too. They've always been one of my favorite teams out here on the West. I live in Vancouver, so I really like Brock Besser. Always been high on him, and I think he would look fantastic in a Winnipeg Jets jersey. Like I said before, though, we've talked about this, so we're going to leave it at that. Trade for Brock Besser if he's available. Same thing goes for Brock Nelson. We just talked about Brock Nelson, like, I feel like a couple days ago, and that was, again, a hypothetical video referring to a Puckpedia report. I think I saw something from Yardbreaker. I think it was actually talking about why it would make sense for the Jets to be pursuing a Brock Nelson in the trade market, and now the Jets are officially tied to him. And again, it makes so much sense. Talked about it in the video. Solid, underrated two-way defenseman his whole career. Two-way second-line center his whole career. He's played on the first line at times. He's played with stars. He's played on the power play, penalty kill. He's going into last year of his contract as well as $6 million. So about a $6 million in the cap hit. The Jets have about 11 going into the deadline, so they could afford either Besser or Brock Nelson, and it wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. They'd actually still have about another probably $6 million, like $5 million to spend, you know, going into the deadline as well. So still a lot of money to make other moves, and either one of these guys would be really, really good additions to the Winnipeg Jets. You know, going back to what I said at the start of the video about how it's kind of ironic that Chevy just did a sit down saying how he's not just going to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. They're looking for a perfect fit. I think that Brock Nelson and Brock Besser, when you look at guys that are available on the trade market, I think make so much sense for this club. I think they fit the power play. I think they fit the chemistry. I think that they would fit well within the Jets system that they've created this year, and I think that it would really reward this club in a lot of areas by adding these two forwards, or either of these forwards. You know, you would shore up your position, your center position if you trade for Brock Nelson. You would also shore up your position on your wings with Brock Besser, as well as maybe being able to sign Brock Besser potentially. Nonetheless, either of these guys would be great additions to the club. I really believe that. I think that they would cost the right amount too. Like, they wouldn't be too expensive asset-wise. So I just think it makes a lot of sense. But the Jets weren't just tied to those two players. They've also been linked to Mario Ferraro, San Jose Sharks defenseman Mario Ferraro, as well as Pittsburgh Penguins defenseman Matt Grzelcyk. Now, okay. polar opposites of where we just talked about. I am 110% on board with trading for either a Brock Besser or a Brock Nelson. Either of these guys, no thank you. Ferraro, depth defenseman, physical guy playing on a bad team. He's got 1 year left on his contract at 3.25, so it wouldn't be a pure rental. You'd be keeping him as a depth defenseman. But look, I know he's on San Jose, but I just don't think this really, I know he's a physical guy. I know he's kind of the mold, the defenseman that the Jets want. I guess he's a better version of what Logan Stanley provides at times. So yes, I'm not opposed to that, but he just makes too much money, and I just don't think this is the right defensive move. And the same thing goes for Matt Grzelcyk. I don't think that this is the right move. Obviously he's having 27 points in an insane year for Matt Grzelcyk, and his advanced analytics aren't terrible. They're definitely better from Ferraro, and they have more upside, I think. But at the same time, he's playing with star talent. I know Pittsburgh's a bad team, don't get me wrong, but when you take a guy like Matt Grzelcyk, where he was in Boston, and then you put him on a defensive pairing with a guy like Erik Karlsson, who's even having an off year but still producing a ton of points, obviously you're going to get secondary assists, and your numbers are going to be boosted, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Again, I just don't think that these guys are... at least Grzelcyk would be more of a rental. We wouldn't have to worry about keeping him. But at 2.75 and at $3 million, I just think there are better Jets defensemen available for the Jets to pursue. I still really like the idea of Brian Dumoulin from the Anaheim Ducks. We talked about that a month ago. But if that was a real rumor, and if that is a thing that might happen with Anaheim shopping him, I would definitely be down for that. That is the more of the type of style of the defender I want the Jets to go for. A physical defenseman that actually has a winning pedigree. Ferraro, it's good locker room guy, it seems with a leadership role, but again, not the needle movers that I want the Jets to be tied to. So kind of two funny things where we see Chevy talking yesterday about how he doesn't want to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. Then we see rumors about Besser and Nielsen that make a lot of sense, that fit this mold of this team, that I think really push the Jets in the right direction and make them even more competitive. And I think that it signals exactly what Chevy was talking about it being not just making a trade for the sake of making a trade. I think that would be a smart move, and those are guys that I think would fit this mold well. But then on the other side of that, for making a trade just for the sake of making a trade, both those two defensemen I think are, not the exact right fit for this club. And I just don't think that, I think that those would be the making a trade for just making a trade guys, because you need some defensive help, that you trade for some defensemen. And I don't know if that's the right move, Colin Miller, we kind of randomly just traded for Colin Miller last year at the deadline, and we didn't even really use him. So is that really what we want to be doing, is looking for some random defenseman to trade for? I don't think so. I think if you are Chevy, focus on exactly the right fit, and even if it costs a lot, go all in on the right fit. Don't cheap out. Don't, sell the Jets short. Go in for the guy that you believe in, and that's what I would like to see him do. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, follow me on Twitter. Check out the new Instagram account and in the description below, as well as all the other affiliated links. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Go Jets, go, and I'll see you all in the next one very, very soon. It'll all be over.